It's time for Windows Weekly. Mary Jo Foley is on her way back from Europe, so it's just me and Paul. That means we can talk a little bit about Xbox. In fact, we've got some really good Black Friday deals, including, and Paul's going to explain how this works, one of the best deals of music I've ever heard. And if you've got Windows or a Windows phone, you'll want to hear about this. It's coming up on Windows Weekly.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Windows Weekly is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott, episode 390, recorded November 26th, 2014. Big hands, little eyes. Windows Weekly is brought to you by Harry's. For guys who want a great shave experience for a fraction of what you're paying now, go to harrys.com. And just in time for the gift season for new and existing customers, get $5 off the limited edition Winter Winston set by entering the code Windows Holiday, one word, at checkout. And by ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes hiring faster, easier, and cheaper. Post your job to 50-plus job boards with one click. Try ZipRecruiter with a free 4-day trial now at ZipRecruiter.com/Windows. That's ZipRecruiter.com/Windows. And by Audible.com. To download the free audiobook of your choice, go to Audible.com/Windows. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show where we cover the latest and greatest from Microsoft. Mary Jo Foley has the week off. She's getting ready for Turkey Day tomorrow, but Paul Thurrott is here, and we are ready to talk.
Mary Jo is actually flying home from Europe today.
She stayed a little extra. She was in Stockholm last week.
Yep.
And then I think she was going on to Copenhagen. Good for her. Good for her.
Yeah.
Well, what are you doing for Thanksgiving Day?
I'm staying home. My big Thanksgiving event is at 8 o'clock in the morning. We go drink beer.
At 8 a.m.?
Yeah.
No.
It's, bagels and beer. It's kind of a tradition.
That's pretty awesome. With your buds?
Yeah, it's just kind of a guy thing. And
do you do anything else? Where do you go? Do you go to a bar or a bagel shop?
Local bar, yeah. Yeah, they have this event, and we were the original group of guys doing it. Now it's packed with a bunch of people we don't know, but
that's awesome.
It obviously took off.
That's how. That's what I'm talking. Yeah. Boston strong.
Yeah,
that is why
Boston goes home and takes a nap after this event while our wives cook. So
Boston's sleepy.
Boston has to preserve its strength.
And then do you watch the football games all day?
Yeah, the football's on all day, of course. And, yeah, I mean, I do a little bit of work. I cut the turkey and stuff, and I clean up and all that.
Yeah, I cut the turkey. That's the man's job. Yes. Okay, thanks for the hard work. I'll take over from here.
Yeah. Well, the electrical knife is fun, Leo. I think.
Do you have one of those?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, have a wonderful Thanksgiving Day. And
you're going to the football game, you said.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we're not getting turkey. I'm not sure. I don't think we've made plans.
You got to get turkey, Leo. Even if it's just like a supermarket pre-cooked thing that you bring to tailgating.
Maybe we'll stop at Willie Bird's on the way down. Yeah, we have a believe it or not, in Sonoma County there is a restaurant dedicated to turkey in all its forms, in all its great variety.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Thanksgiving Day is the busiest day of the year for Willie Bird's, and then the day after Thanksgiving, nobody. It's empty.
Although I know this topic has probably been beaten to death across your network, but I think we can all agree that Thanksgiving food on the day after Thanksgiving is in some ways better than Thanksgiving food on Thanksgiving.
What do you what do you like to do with your turkey leftovers?
Well, we go through a progression of things.
Right.
Right. So in the beginning, it's cold meat and warm stuffing, and then you cook the gravy, and so you've got that kind of
gloppy. It's kind of gloppy. Yeah.
Yeah, you go through the sandwich phase.
I love it.
And then we make
so
soup.
Now, let's not rush here. Now, sandwiches. Yep. Turkey, little dressing, little stuffing.
See, it depends.
Little cranberry sauce.
The sandwich phase is actually several phases because sometimes it resembles the Thanksgiving dinner in a sandwich form.
It's a Dagwood sandwich.
Yeah,
and it's on seed
sometimes
rye.
You just do it's like mayonnaise and just the turkey meat because you tend to.
Well, you run out of
at
the
some
fixins.
point the other stuff runs out.
Yeah. You run out of for the
turkey is like the horn of plenty in an animal.
Never,
you know, like
it
it just keeps going and going.
It's the cornucopia of wildfowl. I like Russian dressing, rye bread.
Oh.
It's the only time all year I eat cranberry sauce and Russian dressing is Thanksgiving and the days following.
In the same meal, which is insane.
Aftermath. They're both red. I don't even know what Russian dressing is. But it's what you have on turkey sandwiches in my
okay.
my experience. Maybe I'm wrong. It just is that just a Laporte
thing?
It's
what you have on a Reuben sandwich, isn't it? Or a
Reuben's you have the pink one. What is that called? Well, maybe that's Russian.
I don't eat this kind of thing. I'm not really sure.
I don't know. Now that's the sad thing about not having your own Thanksgiving dinner. You don't get that. That's the best part.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. You should go buy a turkey anyway. Just make it the next day. You know, make it tonight, whatever.
Yeah.
Just have it.
You know, there'd probably be a big sale on Friday on turkeys.
Yeah,
Black
hopefully
Friday.
You won't be like the Charlie Brown Christmas tree version of a turkey. It'll be like some little straggler, like a little Cornish game hen. You know?
What? Black Friday? Now, I know you and your son used to go to Best Buy or, do you do the Black Friday thing?
The internet has ruined all of my traditions, Leo.
It's ruined it.
You know, even on, when the Call of Duty came out, I woke him up at midnight, but we just stayed home,
That's so weird. Because we downloaded it already, so at midnight we could play it.
I mean, it was nice. We got to play a little longer than maybe we would have usually, but it wasn't the same experience. And so that's kind of good and bad, right? I mean, Black Friday, I feel like going to the store has lost its importance, although we'll talk a little bit about some Black Friday stuff later.
Oh, good. The deals are always virtual and wonky.
Yeah. A lot of these companies have stuff, Amazon in particular, it was having Black Friday sales in October.
Right.
So.
Right. Why wait?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's still a tradition in some places for now, and I think that's going to go away, and it's already going away, but.
So
we'll see. We'll see what the look like.
Let's get to the Windows. Build 9879. You've had it for a couple of weeks now of Windows 10. Last week, we really kind of rode that OneDrive train.
I know. I won't bring up that one too much. But, it's interesting because as of today, that build is 2 weeks old. And this is like one of those, it's like that winter storm that hit Buffalo. It kind of never goes away. It just keeps sitting there dumping on you. And, that's what this build has been like. And it's been interesting watching it progress because you get a peek behind the kimono in a way about how Microsoft can handle a rapid release cycle in a beta test / pre-release form because there's a bunch of that stuff going on. But I feel like I've written so much about this. In the notes, I kind of stepped through the various articles. It's odd for there to be this many kind of articles about one build of something. Usually it's like, here's what's new in the build, and then maybe you follow it up with a little bit, okay, I've been using it for a little while, whatever. But this one has really been fascinating on a number of levels. It's opened up that stuff, when Mary Jo was, a couple of weeks ago, was kind of openly worrying about the fate of Windows and whether Windows, had a point going forward, especially Windows Phone, perhaps, where there's a part of the population, the Windows community, the Windows fan base or tech enthusiast base that is really opposed to Microsoft supporting these other platforms over Windows. And, that comes out in here. There are people who look at the OneDrive issue, which, again, I won't beat to death, but who will say, it kind of stinks that they're dumbing down OneDrive in Windows. Instead of making OneDrive better everywhere else, they're ruining it on Windows to make it as bad as it is everywhere else, which is kind of another way of looking at that. And, yeah, I can kind of see that kind of stuff. There's also the whole notion of Microsoft listening to feedback, and are they really going to implement any of this stuff in the product? And frankly, there hasn't been a lot of that yet. And there's been a lot of talk about it. It was one of those things that we felt really good about, say, compared to the Sinofsky folks who were in there previously. But we've had 3 builds of this thing so far. Very minimal amount of actual product updates based on what people have asked for. And then they kind of announced, hey, we're not doing that anymore until after the new year. And it's like, guys, what's going on here? And so we've reached this kind of interesting point. And the crux of it is this build. This release was this interesting kind of inflection point here for Windows. And There's some good and there's some bad and there's some ugly, OneDrive being the ugly. But, I guess what I would say is that in the week since our last show, Microsoft said that they would try to fix this build. They've actually issued a number of fixes. They just, I guess it was yesterday, rolled it out to what they call the slow ring part of testers, and also revealed that part of the beta testing group of the Windows Insiders represents 90% of all of the people outside of Microsoft who are testing Windows 10 right now. Meaning that I, as what I would assume was a sort of a typical Windows enthusiast, would get the build, immediately go into the PC settings area and change it to fast ring because I want to make sure I get everything as fast as possible. But it turns out that 9 out of 10 people didn't do that, so that's interesting. And they feel like they've kind of fixed it to the point where it's maybe as reliable and stable as previous builds were. My initial reaction to that was that it appeared that they had done it. In fact, yesterday, this thing ran fine all day long. There were no issues. And I thought, wow, maybe they actually did it. And then I got up this morning and I had exactly the same kind of File Explorer freezing that I was seeing before. And I thought, here we go again. So I've sort of resigned myself to, this is the way it's going to be. It's more important for me to be involved with this next version of Windows and to use it. And I'm not going to go back to Windows 8.1 or whatever. I mean, I'm just going to deal with it. And I use this thing with my real data, and I'm probably stupid for doing that.
You're a brave man.
Or mental, yeah. But whatever. It's okay. It's okay. And it's just been an interesting experience. And I've been beta testing software for years and years, and you kind of go up and down on this kind of stuff. It's weird to me how different this is than it's been in the past. And it's been so long since we've gotten releases this quickly. I mean, you almost have to go back to the 1990s. I remember Windows 98, or probably not Windows 98 SE as well. Maybe Windows Millennium Edition, actually. We used to get builds of those products every single week on Fridays. Friday would come and we get a build and we would install it and we would use it and then we would wipe it out again next week. We got really good at doing that. And the opportunity to clean, install, and do upgrades and wipe out a computer and start again from scratch and all that kind of stuff, I think it's actually kind of healthy to experience that sometimes too. So it hasn't been all bad.
Windows 10. It hasn't been all bad.
Well, we're testing it. And I know people, whatever the complaint may be, someone will always pop up and say, you're beta testing pre-release software, right? I mean,
yeah,
you shouldn't be surprised when things don't work and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, of course. Of course I understand that. That's not my point. My point is that this thing should be as reliable and stable as shipping software. It's a little more nuanced than that, but it's been interesting to watch them evolve and to respond. And in the past 2 days or so, they've actually released 2 pretty major fixes.
Well, you have on your site, and I don't know if this is one of them, but here's a fix for OneDrive problems. Actually, this was a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, no, that was early on. So even when the build first dropped, when you finally got installed and booted into the OS, you actually needed to go into PC settings, Windows Update, and check for updates because there was, in fact, an update for that build the moment it shipped. Yeah. Wow.
Which is kind of interesting. And I don't know what the experience that the slow ring folks are having, and I would imagine it really hasn't changed all that much, since we first got it. But it certainly is better than it was, back 2 weeks ago when this first happened, and you may recall because we were on the air when it happened, and I was reading the description of OneDrive and trying to understand, as I was reading it out loud, are they getting rid of this? It seemed
odd
the way it was described, because they were describing it in a positive way. It's like we've seized your house and are going to sell it at auction, but now you don't have to worry about your mortgage payments.
It's on the bright side.
Right. But yeah, so maybe that could have been handled better. But
so I'm just looking at the huge number of articles you've written on this subject. Clean install? You talk about the clean install? Is that the suggested?
Yeah, I mean, so not this past weekend, but the weekend before, the stability issues had been so bad that I decided to do a clean install, which is something I don't do lightly on this particular computer, my daily workstation here. And you have to. It's awful when you do that kind of thing in some ways because OneDrive, regardless of how you have it configured, the old way in Windows 8.1, which was wonderful, this new way in Windows 10. Once you bring up your system from scratch, you got to reconnect everything, and that takes a while. And in the case of OneDrive, the way it works now, that actually could take a couple of days, depending on how much you choose to sync and all that kind of stuff. And it's I've got the books I'm working on in there, and I have important data, and I want to make sure everything is backed up in case something goes wrong. And it's something I don't do lightly. But again, the unfortunate aftermath of that was that you go through that whole process. You clean up I obviously got a bunch of junk off my computer, and so that's good. You get up the next morning and File Explorer is still freezing. You're like, okay, I didn't solve any problems at all. So I just wasted a weekend doing that. That was good. And, oh well, because, I feel like, one of the roles I can take on here is to, be the first guy over the edge of the trench, and I'll take the gunfire and let you know how it's going, And, that's what I'm doing. So it doesn't always work out. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's just been that kind of experience. It's weird. I mean, again, the first two builds of this were great, and you always have that discussion. You just installed the Windows Technical Preview. Do you recommend this to other people? And it's like, logic tells me no, but honestly, it's been so clean and clear and reliable, and everything's great. Why not? Why not? And then this happens, and it's like, well, this is why not, because this is what can happen.
Yeah, so don't.
Yeah, don't let me do it. Let me take the bullets.
Yeah. And Paul gets 20 articles out of it, and that pays him for his effort.
Sure. For my psychiatrist.
Do you recommend using the It's better to use the ISO, though, right?
Well, that's another thing that changed. I think this was 2 days ago. They actually released an ISO version of this build, and in the past, they'd only done that for the very first build. And so when I did that clean install, it wasn't really a clean install. It was a clean install of the first version, and then upgrade to the second version, and then upgrade to the third version, and then make sure you run all the Windows updates because there are some updates. I mean, so it's not really a clean install. This gives you that opportunity. I've not actually done this with this. I downloaded it, but I didn't grab it. You can use this
update will only install on devices that are currently running Windows Technical Preview.
Yeah, so you still have to install that first build, right?
Okay.
But now you can do it offline, which is the point of this.
Got it. Instead of using Windows Update.
Yeah.
And this is about 3 gigs, between 3 and 4 gigs, depending on whether it's 64 or 32-bit.
It basically just lets you skip a step. The first
this is always the way you want to do it, though,
that article was 3 full builds, and now you do 2. So
this is how I would always do is put it on a flash drive, and then you can just install it that way.
It's always best if you can.
Seems like it's faster to do it that way.
There's all kinds of stuff that goes wrong with this. I like a goof, installed this the initial build on virtually every single computer I have here. It blows away the recovery partition on your Surface Pro 3, which is not what you're looking for.
That's terrible.
There's all kinds of stuff like that.
Does it put a new one on there?
Yeah, it puts the Windows 10 one on there.
Okay, well, that is what you want.
Which is not what you want.
Well, is it? No, you can't go back.
Can't go back. So obviously, you can create recovery media.
Right.
Microsoft actually offers a downloadable ISO.
So do that
actually, it's not so, but it's
for this Windows 8.1 Surface Pro 3.
For the Surface Pro 3 specifically,
and Windows 8.1. Okay, so you can always get back if you need to.
Yep. Yeah, but sometimes enthusiasm gets in the way of common sense.
Move judiciously through the beta.
Yeah, I keep wanting this to go away. I wish they would issue another build just so I could stop talking about this. Yeah. It's got to stop dealing with it too, I guess. But
now this is the technical preview. Are they going to do a preview? This is for enterprise, right? Are they going to do a preview for others?
Yeah. And I don't. It's funny that they are. I think they should have gone in a different direction with the first preview. They did say that they're targeting businesses with this, but the truth is, there's actually not a lot for businesses in this build or in any of these builds. And the big stuff that's happening for businesses, like the ability to have your own version of the Windows Store that you can present to your users and dictate which apps they can install and all that kind of stuff, is not available. This is something that's coming in months. And so I almost feel like they should have released a developer preview first. I mean, in some ways, this is like a technology enthusiast preview. There aren't really many business-oriented features here. But regardless of that, the next step is the consumer preview, which Mary Jo and I had previously pegged as something that would happen in early 2015. And there's a Chinese site that has finally leaked some of the stuff that's going on in that consumer preview. And there's nothing dramatic here, except for one thing, oddly. There was a note that they were going to change the build number to Windows 10, to 10, like to version 10. And if you know anything about Windows, you know that the version number of Windows hasn't aligned with the product name since Windows 3 point something, like 3.11.
We're actually at like 6, right?
Yeah, it's 6 point something. So, Windows 7 is not version 7. Windows 7 is version 6.1.
But that's only because they went 6.1, 6.2, 6.3. They didn't make major.
Right. And the reason they did that was because in the desktop part of the world, which was just Windows, for all those years, that version number was used by application developers, web developers, and also by enterprises to understand compatibility. And when you have something that's 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, 6.4, you know that there are basically no application compatibility issues that you need to worry about. That in that case, I think version 6 must have been Windows Vista, that was a major reworking of the foundation of Windows, and that all the 6 point dot whatever versions that came behind it would basically be compatible from an application standpoint. That was kind of the important thing. So this version number thing, when this first appeared, I talked to a bunch of people privately, not at Microsoft, but people who do what I do, people like Peter Bright and those kind of guys. And we all thought that this was impossible. This would not be happening. But as it turns out, this is true. And Microsoft, in fact, corroborated this essentially by mentioning it in some developer documentation in the context of web apps and Internet Explorer and all that kind of stuff. And they are, in fact, changing the version number of the product to 10, like Apple did, like with Mac OS 10. Like Mac OS 10 is version 10, right? So you know that every version of Mac OS 10, they call it Lion or Mountain Lion, but those things are really 10.7, 10.8, whatever the number may be. And, I wrote up a story about it without really knowing why they might do that, and kind of offering some guesses. But the basic story, and actually Peter Bright was one of the guys who wrote about this, is that that version that Windows will report itself accurately to modern applications, but that the old version will still be reported for legacy apps. Like this is something they can just do internally. And in fact, that the way that you access the version number tells the OS whether or not you're a legacy app or a modern application, right? And that the old way of doing it is in fact deprecated in Windows 10. And so they basically solved the problem by just modernizing the system, essentially, and that kind of stuff doesn't actually matter anymore, or shouldn't. I mean, I think we're still going to see occasional.
But 9879 is still 6.4, right? It's not.
Yeah, so that's the build number. So when you think about Windows 10 today, I mean, it still is version 6 point whatever it is.
6.4, according to Dr. Pizza.
Okay. So if you think about the full version number of this build, it would be 6.4.9879. Right.
Okay.
There's always a build number, but the 6.4 is a major and a minor version number, right? So if you did a WinVer or in the About box that you're showing there, you'll see that. You'll see that information.
Right. But you're saying it's going to say version 10 when it comes out.
Yep. And I think that's, I think from sort of just a basic strategy standpoint, people get version numbers. This thing would be version 10. People would say, of course it is,
But does it mean anything about compatibility or no?
No, because the types of applications and actually I should specify this, applications or the types of management environments, right? Like System Center or Intune or whatever, where that would matter. The fact that they're calling, the way that they would look for that version number would tell the OS that they're in essence a legacy product. And so they're still going to get the old style version number. And so to them, that should work fine.
I see.
Interestingly, I think the one place this could be a problem is on the web, because, you know, when you do like a browser detection, there are different ways to do it, but that version number can show up in a browser string. And so sometimes when you check for, okay, it's Internet Explorer, what version is it? It might say Internet Explorer, the version of Internet Explorer, NT version 6 point something. You know, you might get that kind of information. And if there are web developers who are testing at that level, it is possible, if they're not, you know, if they're looking for an explicit version number, you know, equal to 6 point something, and not greater than or equal to 6 point something, there might be problems there. And so I think the reason they're highlighting this now, even though they really haven't had a developer thing yet, is they know that developers are going to want to get ahead of that one, because, yeah, that could cause problems.
Okay.
We'll see.
And as always, you know, the super site for Windows is the place to go. Paul just writes voluminously on this. And as you can see, he has devoted his, you know, he's actually using it in day-to-day production, which is crazy.
I know.
So
I am. There's something horribly wrong with me, Leo. I think we can all agree to that.
Well, you're a masochist. You've always been that way. It's okay. Paul does it so we don't have to.
Yeah. Well, yeah, sure.
One place you don't want to be.
I always think of Jerry Purnell when I, you know.
Yeah, right. Chaos
Jerry Purnell, you know, I make these mistakes, so you
don't have to. Yeah.
But I don't intend to make a mistake. You know, it just happens.
No.
You know,
do it naturally.
Yeah.
No, seriously, you are doing it because this is your job. This is what you do.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
One place you don't want to be a masochist is in the bathroom.
All right.
Well, maybe I should explain where I'm going with this.
Curious where you're going. You know? I see.
When you're shaving, there's no need to punish your face. And thanks to Harry's, the place to get a very fair price on the best blades anywhere in the market today. And Harry's made sure of that because they found out that when they founded Harry's, there was one place in the world that made the best blades. It was actually two factories, both in Solingen, Germany. They bought one of them. And because they're selling direct to you, they can give you great prices, about half that drugstore blade. And yet it's still a better blade. For the holidays, we've got a very special Harry's deal just for you. This is nice. I love Harry's. If you've got a guy in your life that you want to gift, the Harry's limited edition Winter Winston set. This is the one I use. Now, this is Winston is the metal razor, and mine is silver. Now I want this one. This one's beautiful. It's a blue blade, a blue handle, still metal, still gorgeous. Actually, you can also, this is the ice blue. You can also get it in charcoal gray. And of course, as always with Harry's, the kit comes not only with a razor and a blade, but also 2 more blades. These are the best blades in the world. You'll never cut yourself the smoothest shave ever. The Harry's Shave Cream, which I like. I get these these blades and cream shipped to me every month because I really, once you're hooked on Sherry's, it's awesome. They also have a new aftershave moisturizer that is so nice. Smells great and feels great. And what's nice is this is already wrapped. The kit comes with the handle, the 3 blades total, 2 extra blades, the foaming shave gel, or you could choose the cream. That's what I like. But it's up to you. Some people like the foaming gel. And this is kind of nice. This Harry's does this. It's just a little extra thing. A travel cover for your razor, which I actually use all the time. So, you know, if you put this in your DOP kit as you're packing, you put the travel cover on, and it protects the blade, and it protects, more importantly, your hands when you reach into your kit. And it has a little, you know, ventilation there, so it's really nice. As a special holiday gift, Harry's is gifting all of our fans $5 off the limited edition Winston set. So even though, and this, by the way, is everybody. Even if you've already joined, if you're already a loyal Harry's user like I am, you'll still get $5 off the Winter Winston set. So the razor, 3 blades, a tube of foaming shave gel or shave cream and free shipping, Free shipping. Did I mention that? Free shipping. $25 because you're listening. Now, the free shipping ends December 10th, so you want to take advantage of this right now. Go to Harry's, HARRYS.com. The offer code is Windows Holiday, and that'll get you $5 off this new limited edition Winter Winston set. Windows Holiday. They have other kits too, but I think this is a beautiful, beautiful gift. Somebody will really appreciate this, and they'll never know that you only paid $25, including shipping. Harrys.com, HARRYS.com. But hurry, this deal ends December 10th. Just remember the offer code Windows Holiday and get one of these lovely Winter Winston sets. It's a gift that makes it so easy for you. Normally $30, $25, including shipping. HARRYS, Harrys.com. And you can take it from me. Harry's gives you the best shave ever. I shaved today with Harry's. Love Harry's. It's nice, too, to get the blades in the mail. I know I just change my blade every Monday. I start my week with a new blade. And it's just nice to know, I'm always going to have enough blades and shaving cream. I don't have to buy it.
I don't even make it a week. My hair is like a...
Well, yeah. I've been shaving twice a day.
Scraggly bush.
'Cause I am kind of scratchy.
It's not good.
No. Cool Breeze is in our chat room. He says, I can't wait to shave this Movember blanket off my face just a couple more days. Cool Breeze. And, of course, when you shave it off with Harry's. That should be their slogan. Shave it off with Harry's. Continuing on. Look, Mary Jo's not here. Let's talk Xbox.
Yes, let's.
Let's do it. The heck with her. Are they doing deals for the holidays?
Yeah, and I have to say, these deals are actually really impressive.
Well, they took $50 off, right?
It's more than that. The way to think about it is, this time last year, if you wanted an Xbox One, you were going to buy it as a Christmas present or just because you're an early adopter, whatever.
Yeah.
The base price was $500. And for that price, you got a controller and you got a Kinect. But you didn't get any games. And $500 was the entry.
Right.
This holiday season, the entry price is $329.
Oh, wow. But that's without a Kinect.
For that price, you get a couple of games.
2 games.
Depending where you buy it, you can get extra stuff, too. There's other stuff going on. For example, if you buy at Target on Black Friday, you get a $50 Target gift card in addition to all the other stuff.
Nice.
It's impressive. An Xbox One with Kinect, 2 games, starts at $429.
Get the Kinect. I don't know why I say that.
Well, I think, I have to say,
once
you get down in the $300 price category.
That's an impulse buy.
You're reaching an interesting point.
Yeah,
and I would just say, there's a certain percentage of the population that, $300 happens and $400 doesn't, and it's probably a pretty big part of the population.
Yeah.
So there's all these bundles, and so it's the consoles. Basically the consoles are $70 off. And the bundles as well, about $70 off. But again, I think the way to really think of it is, last year it was $500, and this year it's $300. There's all different kinds of deals, and I've tried to highlight them on my site. I don't even know if I have them all, because honestly, it was really hard to parse. But
so if you're a fan of the motorsports, you can get Forza.
Games are cheap.
Actually, this would be good. 40% off Forza Motorsport 5 and Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls, which I love. That's through the Xbox store. The Unity bundle would be cool if you're an Assassin's Creed fan. This time they're in France during the Revolution.
Right.
So what do you think? Don't get the Kinect? Get the Kinect.
Well, it just depends on what you can afford. I mean, if you can afford it, obviously you should get it. It's just amazing to me that you get this stuff. Some of the deals, you get an additional controller. I think that was the Best Buy deal. If you buy it in a Microsoft retail store, you get a free game in addition, to the stuff it comes with. Walmart has a Halo Master Chief Collection.
That's nice.
Which is the basic console with that game. It's just astonishing. I mean,
is this Microsoft being aggressive and giving the retailers a cut?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, I think last year they did what they did, and they spent much of this year kind of fixing the price, which I think was the number one problem with the console.
Yeah.
And the thing that really bothers me about how they went to market this year was this was what Sony did with the PS3. And at the time, it just seemed like a semi-arrogant thing to do. Yeah, we're a year late to market compared to Xbox 360, but we're going to charge a lot more money because we have a Blu-ray, and those components are expensive, and we think the quality is there and people will see it and they'll buy it, and they didn't. And it wasn't until Sony got aggressive price cutting that console that it finally took off. And then, of course, over the lifetime of those consoles, it eventually barely did surpass the Xbox 360 overall. And so I think Microsoft here, they made the same mistake at launch, just selling it for too much. I think they got a little too cute with the Kinect stuff. And they fixed that. And so now they have reasonably priced offerings, and I think that's a big deal. And I think it's going to make a big difference. And the proof of the pudding here, I guess, is whether the Xbox One, in this case, actually outsells the PS4 at any point. Maybe that happens in November, maybe in December. We'll see, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I think they've gotten this really nice range of prices. And by the way, remember, I guess the other way to look at it, I'd never even thought of this until now, let alone wrote it. But last year, $500 for an Xbox One, $400 for PS4. This year, you can get an Xbox One cheaper than a PS4.
Yeah,
that's a big change.
Yeah,
it's not just cheaper; it's cheaper than a PS4. That's good.
It's interesting how much price impacts this. I would have thought, and I said this last year, that it's really about the games. If you don't, when you go to either PS4 or an Xbox One, you're giving up legacy gaming. All the games you've got on your shelf, they're gone. You have to keep your old machine. And when they first came out, there weren't a whole lot of games to get you excited. Now there's enough out there that there's plenty to get you excited.
Yeah, and two things to that. First, there are continued rumors that Microsoft is going to have an on-live style service for Xbox One that will let people play Xbox 360 games in the cloud.
That would be nice.
This is a persistent thing. I've heard this enough times now that I think it is going to happen. I wish it had happened about a year ago now, but whatever. So we'll see what happens there. The other one is that, when I assess the first year of Xbox One, this is my own personal experience. I know everyone's different, but, I don't tend to play a variety of games. I play one game charitably, and I could have done that on the Xbox 360 and saved $1,000 by not buying two Xbox Ones, for example. For me personally, the Xbox One was not a great deal that first year. Now, of course, I write about Microsoft products and things. I'm going to, I professionally, I sort of can justify it in that way. But I would say just as a consumer and my own peculiar way of doing things, I would have been would have been way better off by sticking to the 360 this past year. Now that the year has elapsed, though, looking at the way pricing has gone at this point, I don't know what to say anymore, because I would certainly be buying it now regardless. These prices are excellent and are right where the 360 was for the majority of its own life cycle, right? I think it makes a lot of sense. There's also some 360 deals to be had, by the way, this holiday season. You can get an Xbox 360 for as little as $100, which is amazing, and there are still some great games, I mean, there are probably thousands of great games. I mean, obviously the game library on the 360 side is amazing. So if you still can't afford an Xbox One, it wouldn't be a bad choice to get a 360 either.
Isn't that funny?
$99.
Yeah, that price. Have both.
I know.
I do.
I still, because I mention it from time to time. Every month I go and play Call of Duty with some guys on the street. We did that last night. And this has been, I think, the third month in a row where instead of playing the new game, we go and play old games. And so we've been playing old versions of Call of Duty. Graphically, they don't really hold up to the newer games. Call of Duty Black Ops, for example, from a few years back, or Modern Warfare 2, for whatever. But the multiplayer experience is really fun. Everyone knows the levels, right? We all played these things for months and months and months a few years back. And so it's all very familiar. And those are still very viable games. I mean, the experience of sitting down today and playing Call of Duty Advanced Warfare on an Xbox One versus playing the original Black Ops from, I don't know what that is, 5 years ago maybe, is not that different. It's not that different. And I think for a lot of people, not everyone has the hundreds of dollars to spend every time Activision throws a new game at us, and $500 for a new console. And it's kind of a rejection of this constant upgrade thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, the Xbox 360's got plenty of gas, so it's not a bad alternative.
I'm always surprised at you because you just play that Call of Duty forever.
Yeah.
And I play a new game for 10 minutes and I get bored and I try another one and another one. I'm not very,
but I do the same thing.
Game.
I mean, I sort of recognize that there are other games that are popular or that look interesting, and I think I should be spending some time on these things.
Right.
And by the way, Halo is a game that I played. We played Halo before we played Call of Duty, and I played through all of the Halos. The initial Halo, I probably played that single player campaign as many as 10 times.
Wow.
I mean, straight through.
Wow.
So it's very familiar to me.
Right.
But I don't have the same nostalgia for that for some reason. With the Master Collection, when you go back and you look at these games, the limitations are a little more glaring. You can't run. You can't look down the sight of your weapon. It's a little more limiting. I'm just, for whatever reason, I'm not as interested in it. But regardless of the age of games, I've always found Destiny is a good example, or Titanfall, Call of Duty-like games, not Call of Duty. They don't feel exactly the same. I find that transition hard. But we go back to Black Ops from 5 years ago, different console. It's immediately familiar.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah, I've been playing Sunset Overdrive like crazy, and that's to me, that's because it's so different.
Right.
And it's got a sense of humor about it, and I'm not really big into being an army guy. And so there's the army guy.
I'm into the death from above kind of thing.
Yeah. I like Diablo 3. I keep coming back to that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the death from above, and
it
gets fun and hairy, and it's kind of an old-fashioned looking game because it's all top down. But so Diablo 3 right now is my go-to, but I play Sunset Overdrive. I enjoy that. And they're finally, some interesting. Watch Dogs was a little disappointing. I was hoping that was going to be an amazing game, and same with Destiny, same with Titanfall.
Watch Dogs is the one where the hacking is part of it,
stuff
right?
as you're going around. See what's you see. I like stuff that looks different and feels different. That's why I like Sunset Overdrive. You don't feel like you're in a game.
Yeah, no. By the way, Call of Duty is absolutely more of the same. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
But you like that. That's what you're looking for.
For me, there's an appeal to that. But I could see where that would be a problem. Yeah.
I did love Skyrim because I like a little of that fantasy, and I have been playing the new Dragon Age a little bit. It's not quite as good as Skyrim, but it's.
I thought I was going to get into Destiny, for example, right?
Yeah, I tried.
If you play the beginning of Destiny, it plays like a Halo game.
Right. Very much.
There's obviously someone floating around with you, kind of explaining how the controls work. It's a cool way to get into the game. Good. And you're fighting some aliens. You escape in a spaceship, and I think this game looks good. It's got a nice vibe to it. And then you go up to a city, and it turns into an MMO kind of thing where you walk around and talk to people.
Right.
And could you just send me on a mission? Why do I have to figure it out? Like, I just want to go do something.
Yeah, they're mixing the genres. Yeah.
I just I appreciate their need to expand, but it just made it uninteresting to me.
I would be thrilled if they did a Skyrim update for Xbox One.
I bet they will.
I would hope
I'm sure they will.
Play that. All right. Even now I'm getting bored. I'll play the role of Mary Jo Foley. Can we just talk Enterprise or Office or something?
Yeah, okay, a little bit. Sort of. But we'll skid along this side of the Enterprise. I don't actually have any
Don't worry about it.
True Enterprise stories.
That's today, fine. No Hadoop today. We do have some Office news, I see.
Yeah. So early this month, Microsoft announced a partnership with Dropbox, and surprising everybody because days earlier they had announced that OneDrive storage would be free for everybody who had Office 365, and it seemed like that was the final dagger headed in Dropbox's direction. But they have a partnership. And so in the weeks since, what we've seen is Microsoft add Dropbox support to a number of its Office apps on various platforms, not on Windows, which everyone is annoyed by, but on iOS, on iPhone and iPad separately, because those are actually separate now. Or I guess they always were separate, but they have separate versions of the Office apps for both of those platforms. And then on Android as well, although Android is currently, I think it's currently in preview. But Dropbox support is in all of those things. Part of the agreement, though, was that Dropbox was going to add support for Office in their apps. And so today, I think it was, or last night perhaps, they released new versions of their Android and iOS apps, where when you open a Office document in the app, it displays in the normal preview application, which is probably part of the OS, or I'm not sure if it comes from Dropbox or where that comes from. But there's a new edit button. And when you tap on the edit button, it brings it up in the Office application, Microsoft's application. If you don't already have it, you'll be prompted to download it. This is for Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. You can edit that document, save it as you go. And when you go back, there's a little back button up in the corner, you go back to Dropbox. And so it's kind of that end-to-end solution. You know, you're thinking of files from sort of the perspective of where they are. So you're using the Dropbox app, you can do it that way. You could also do it from the perspective of I'm working in Word and I will launch Word and I can access Dropbox from there. You can do it that way as well. So that's possible. And I guess the advantage to having it within Dropbox is oftentimes people want to then share that file with other people, and you can do that obviously from within the app. So that's there now. If you're a Windows user, I don't want to hear any complaints. I don't know when it's happening, and I apologize on behalf of Microsoft because they obviously hate you, and that's not my problem. Okay, so a couple of other things that happened semi-related to Office. Microsoft is, actually I wrote ads, but it is, I should say, is adding Skype Chat to Office Online. If you go to office.com and you edit, actually I should look up exactly what it is because it's not every single Office app, but at least, two of the Office apps, I want to say Word and PowerPoint, you will be able to chat in a pane in the browser window over Skype with people you're collaborating with. And so, yeah, it's Word and PowerPoint. So you can collaborate on these documents in real time with other people. So you invite them in, you're both editing the document at the same time, and now you can chat with them over Skype, right? So that's coming. It's actually not there now, but it's rolling out in the coming weeks. So that's coming. And then the other one was, this is actually just Skype, and I don't really know anything about this. I just linked to the Microsoft announcement. I'm probably not going to write this one up, but Microsoft updated Skype for Mac today, which will also please everyone using Windows. And
it's not a Windows world anymore, boys and girls.
I know. Sorry, guys. Yeah. I don't think there's anything major in this release. I didn't really look at it.
They seem to update it a lot. I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Skype loves the Mac. You know that. So.
We always have this trouble. We have to test. I feel like an enterprise. We have to test Skype before we update it because it breaks things.
Yeah, because you have different versions over here and over here, and they don't work together. And
so we can't just always do the update.
Yeah, I continue to have that problem where I get signed out of Skype, and it will always. So if I disappear suddenly, I'll be back in 30 seconds. That's just me logging in again. But why it logs out the one I'm in a live video chat in, I don't know. It seems like that would be. Yeah.
It's like my TV.
Let's kill the one he's not actually using.
My TV turns itself off in the middle of shows. Because, I can see you're not watching. No, I'm watching. It's very frustrating.
Yeah.
Computers. Computers, what are you going to do with them? Hey, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more about Microsoft Band. Paul is a believer. And lots of other news, and including our back of the book. Are you going to do a beer for us?
I am.
Yay.
I'm going to do a kind of beer.
It is the season.
Yeah.
And tomorrow, beer and bagels. Let's not forget. Our show today brought to you by our friends at ZipRecruiter.com. Here's the problem. You're in HR or you're the owner of a small business, like me, and you got to hire. And then you got to figure out, well, which job board do I post a listing on? Different job boards have different strengths. Not everybody's on every job board, right? It would be really cool if you just post one listing on every job board. And then you face this issue of, well, now I'm going to get phone calls till next year. I'm going to get email. I got a solution. Does it all for you. ZipRecruiter.com. ZipRecruiter will let you to post to 50-plus job boards with one click of the mouse. You post your job to 50 sites, including social stuff like Craigslist and that's my account there. Craigslist and LinkedIn and Twitter, all with just one click of the mouse. Facebook. You can find candidates in any city, because you're everywhere, in any industry, nationwide. You post once, and those candidates start rolling in. And what's nice is you don't have to juggle emails and phone calls to your office. Recruits pour into ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use interface. So you can use it to scan candidates, rate candidates, hire the right person fast. They even have a resume database of over almost 5 million resumes. Thousands of news added daily, so you can even just scan through their database and see. I really, really like ZipRecruiter. It was such a boon for us, and that's probably why more than 250,000 businesses have used ZipRecruiter. You can too. We've got it free for you for the next 4 days. Visit ZipRecruiter.com/Windows. ZipRecruiter.com/Windows, and you've got a 4-day free trial. Might be enough. They give you a company's career page, a jobs page you could put on your website with your branding and everything. I just love it. ZipRecruiter.com/Windows. Try it free today. Paul Thurrott, Leo Laporte, talking Windows. Mary Jo Foley is flying home from Europe for Thanksgiving. So are you still wearing the Microsoft band?
Yeah. I went through the stages of withdrawal, the first week or whatever. I wore my Fitbit as well. And then eventually I decided if I'm going to use this thing, I just got to use it. And so I am. And, it's, I don't know, from my perspective, it's, and this falls into my, the way I use Xbox is to play Call of Duty kind of thing is, I try to walk every day. I try to exercise, several times a week. I use it to monitor my sleep and my steps and my calories burned and that kind of stuff. And the Fitbit does all that kind of stuff. The one thing it does that I think is really special now, because I know more is coming, is it, it has your resting heart rate, which I think is really helpful, from a health perspective. But I think the problem with the Microsoft band is that for all of the amazing data it's collecting, there's so much it's kind of not doing, and I don't know what their plans are specifically for some of this stuff, but I think it's notable, for example, that there are in fact no health-related or fitness-related notifications on this thing at all, other than to say you met your daily calorie goal, that kind of thing after the fact, which is useless. It will notify me every time I get a phone call or voice message, a text message, an email, a Twitter, a tweet, or whatever, if I wanted to. You can set all that stuff up. And those are all kind of productivity type things. But it never does something like, hey, you haven't moved in 15 minutes. Why don't you stand up? Or it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon and you are only 25% of your goal for taking steps today. Why don't you go for a walk? It seems odd to me that there are so many obvious things they could be doing with this technology, and they aren't. But I can use this thing to pay for coffee at Starbucks, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of in my life. So, you won't be shocked, and you will make fun of the fact that I am writing an admittedly very short book about Microsoft Band, but in an attempt to understand it and also to update it, hopefully as it improves in ways I hope it will improve, and really kind of use it every way that it can be used. I've been using it. I monitor my sleep. I knew this from Fitbit already, and I know this just from being alive, that I don't sleep very well, for example. And so I can see that in glorious, full color every morning. It should laugh at me when I wake up in the morning. It should say, seriously, go back to bed. You are not healthy, that kind of thing. But it doesn't. So I don't know. Maybe the big problem, though, with Microsoft Band has nothing to do with the device itself or the services it connects to or its capabilities or whatever. It's just that on the one hand, we credit Microsoft for getting this thing to market quickly, right? We know Apple, announced an Apple Watch and then didn't ship it and won't ship it until sometime next year. And here's Microsoft. The day they announced that you can buy the watch, and that's really cool, except that it sold out in like 10 minutes because they probably only made 6,000 of them or something. And now the promise that they had previously that they would continue making these things to the holiday and they would try to meet demand, they basically emailed people who are on the waiting list and said, yeah, that's not going to happen.
Oh.
Here's a $10 gift certificate if you spend $50 more at the Microsoft Store online. And it's like, guys, seriously, you know, you can wring defeat out of any victory. And I just, it's depressing. You know, it's too bad. I actually had dinner. Not people from Microsoft, but 3 guys, and every single one of us had a Microsoft band. And I thought the world is going to implode. This type of thing never happens outside of Redmond. You know, how is this possible? But, you know, whatever. I don't think anyone would ever look at a band on anyone's wrist and say, "Oh, is that the Microsoft band?" But I think we're all very attuned to people wearing these kinds of bands. Yeah. And
have you seen my new watch? I'm reviewing the Samsung Gear 2.
Look at that thing.
That's
crazy.
This is crazy. Crazy watch.
But, you know, okay, I will say that's too big. But I will say this.
It's pretty.
That also, I can tell just looking at it that it does something the Microsoft Band doesn't do, right, which is offer you that vertical view so that when you bring it up to your face, you don't have to hold it sideways.
No.
Right?
Right.
The Band doesn't even do that.
Yeah.
How is that not available as an option?
Yeah, I can choose ringtones. There's all sorts of stuff in here. I don't. I'm just charging it up now, so I don't have. And you have to use a Galaxy phone with it, which is another disadvantage.
Of course. Sure.
The Microsoft Watch works with anything, right?
It does. And actually, I have to say, that's one of the things I really love about it. And it's not just because I, move from phone to phone type, but I spent part of last weekend just in sort of testing this because I was writing about it. You could literally pair it, and I did this, pair it, I'll change it to a Windows phone. Pair it, I'll change it to iPhone. Pair it, I'll change it to Android. And in each case, it syncs and all your data comes down into the app. And I love that. I think that's really cool. It really prevents one of those blockers. If you really were into this band and it's a big deal for you, if it only worked with the one kind of phone that you had, I think that's a cheap thing to do.
I agree,
to people.
and I think it's a non-starter for a lot of these Samsung.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it'll be a problem for Apple because they have a very loyal user base, but Samsung's pushing it, and Android, the Android Wear stuff or Android Fit and all that, it's okay. I mean, obviously Android's a big ecosystem and different phones and all that kind of stuff, but I love that Microsoft is doing that kind of cross-platform.
Well, they're doing it with everything. I mean, that's like the Dropbox story. It's like the Office for iPad. They're doing it with everything. Do you get any special functionality with Windows Phone that you don't get with other phones?
Yeah, on the Windows, there are a few things, but the big one is Cortana integration, and so you can speak to it, which I've not done a lot of yet, and I have not written about yet. I've been trying to kind of just fill it out with the stuff that works consistently across the different phone types. But yeah, if you do have a Windows Phone, it does work a little bit better. And that should please Microsoft guys, right? I mean, so I would imagine at some point they're going to integrate with Siri and with Google Now or whatever that's called. But yeah, as of today, the only voice control that works is through Windows Phone.
That makes sense, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Moving along. What's going on with tablets, Paul Thurrott?
Have you guys talked about this anywhere else?
We talk a lot about the slowing tablet market, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, I guess the way I would put this is it's been understood this year that tablet growth has slowed dramatically. And what that means is not that tablets are selling less. It means they're still selling more, but the rate of increase is going down, right? So tablet sales last year, year over year, were north of 50% growth, right? Which is humongous. This year, overall tablet growth is going to be somewhere in the 7% range. And so this is a more, the market is maturing very quickly. And this is one of the things that fascinates me with these markets and with the newer companies. When you look at like the trajectory of a company like Google compared to Microsoft, Microsoft is decades going up. Google is decade going up. It's very fast. And tablets as kind of the newest of these big ecosystems, the tablets that were going to take over for PCs and they were going to kill the PC market and all this stuff. Now it's really not clear what's going to happen here. And according to IDC, overall growth through 2018 is going to keep going down. In other words, not that sales are going to fall, but that growth, it goes down from 7.2% to like under 4% by 2018. And at that point, the total number of tablets sold is going to be in the 285 million range, which is basically what PCs are selling right now. So I'm not saying they're not going to surpass the sales of PCs, but it's going to be pretty close, and that's still several years away. So this is one of those things, and I think I know a lot of people look at IDC and Gartner and these other companies that do these kind of predictions / guesses and say, well, they're always wrong about everything, and but this is a highly volatile market. And I think the other thing the other two things maybe that are interesting is that iOS, and by iOS we mean iPad sales, are actually going to fall this year over year, which is amazing. The iPad is only a couple of years old, and it's not slowing. That in this case, it's actually the sales are falling. So they'll sell fewer iPads this year than they did last year. And the biggest growth, Windows.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, so Android sales go up by 16%. iPad sales go down by 13%. That's this year. But Windows tablet sales go up by almost 70%, 67%, which sounds awesome until you kind of do unless you understand the economics is not the right word, but the nuances of market share, which is when you're starting from a really small position, you can grow all you want. It's not going to make much of a difference. And this is what we see in the PC market with the Mac. And so 67% growth on 11 million units is not great. So when you kind of look at the first column of their predictions for the year, you think, oh, wow, like I wonder what year will Windows tablet sales surpass those of the iPad? Never. That year is never. So, I mean, maybe beyond 2018. But as far as what they're looking at, I mean, even with 38% growth 4 years from now, and you would imagine that the growth in Windows tablets would be between 70 and 40% then over the interim. Windows tablets, and it's, these things vary from company to company how they determine what is a tablet, but Windows tablets represent, it looks like roughly half of iPad sales in 4 years. So it's still good, massive growth, but but not to iPad levels.
I think part of that is that the Windows tablets are actually computers, and the iPad isn't really a computer. It's an iPad. And the other problem, that Microsoft's facing, this was just came out today, and this is TechCrunch, that people with bigger phones like the iPhone 6 Plus are basically abandoning their iPad.
Right.
Here's the iPhone 6 Plus versus iPad usage in a sample size. It's 80% iPhone 6 Plus compared to 20%. If you were using a 5S, it'd be 55% phone to 45% tablet. This is from Pocket.
Yeah, I could see this. I mean,
it's big enough.
This is a debate, though. I on the one hand, you have this notion of, can I eliminate a device, right? Which is, I think a lot of people would like. It's less to carry around and all that kind of stuff. But on the other hand, I also feel like certain devices are just better at certain things than other devices. And I've often observed, probably on this show, but just certainly privately as well, that, if you have a MacBook Air style Ultrabook or a Samsung Ultrabook and an iPad Air or iPad Mini and a phone, we're not talking about three heavy things here. Those three things together are lighter than the laptop I was carrying 3 years ago. So, whatever. I can read on a tablet, do my phone stuff on the phone. I can work on the computer. I mean, it's not necessarily necessary to eliminate a device.
Yeah, but it's not just weight. It's just juggling.
Yeah.
And I tell you, I'm a big phone fan. I only carry, the biggest phones possible. And I don't need to, I feel like that's it. I don't need a tablet.
Now, what is that what is that one?
This is the Nexus 6.
The Nexus 6.
And I have the Note 4. I have the 1520.
Yep.
And I have the, what is the third big one? I can't remember. With the iPhone 6, of course. And
the iPhone 6 Plus.
Yeah.
I still wish I'd gotten the regular iPhone 6, though. If I was going to use an iPhone, if that was going to be my phone.
Oh, I like the 6, frankly. There's no reason to get an iPhone 6 Plus because it doesn't
I can't think of
take advantage of the extra real estate. So that's the problem. It just these bigger icons, bigger text. Whereas Android, if you have a lot, look at all the icons I have on my Android screen. I mean, I'm able to get more stuff plus widgets, and so I just think Android lends itself to a bigger screen because of the functionality built into Android OS. You know, I mean, these are on one screen. I've got Audible player, I've got the Sonos player, I've got my podcast player, and I've got Google Music, and I can control any of those four without opening the apps or anything, just by pressing play. Then that's on a home screen. I think that's where having extra real estate makes a big difference. And you can't do that. I mean, you know, iPhone is just the icons are bigger.
I know, it's just it's the same grid of icons, and they don't really even give you an extra row. You know, well, I guess you get an extra row, but you don't get you don't get extra density or whatever.
No. So I mean, it's good if you have poor eyesight, I guess. I don't know.
Big hands and little eyes.
Pointy little pin eyes.
It's the mole man's phone.
Folks at Google are having a little sympathy for Microsoft woes of 10 years ago. Now the EU is saying Google should be broken up.
I can't wait.
That's not going to happen.
No, of course. That's ludicrous. And it's been fascinating to watch the U.S. kind of jump in and try to, you know, get some sanity in there. But the one thing you know, of course, when I look this story up and I start investigating what's happening here and the call to break up Google, it's impossible for a Microsoft guy not to think back to the Microsoft antitrust trial because, you know, generally speaking, the issue there was abuse of monopoly power, that you have this dominant business, which is fine, it's perfectly legal to have a business that's a monopoly, but then you take advantage of it to illegally or at least artificially enter other markets and prevent the competitors in those markets from being able to compete effectively, right? It's the foundation of the U.S. case. And I found a quote, you know, that Judge Jackson had written during the Microsoft, in his findings of fact, right, when he found Microsoft guilty of these antitrust violations, that if you replace the word Microsoft with Google, it reads perfectly well because Google is doing exactly the same thing in Europe, where depending on the country rather, they have 80 to 90 or even 95% market share. And so you have these, you know, Google is a company that likes to say that they're all mathematicians and engineers and everything is organically, you know, search results, and that's not really how things work. You know, you see that they can push vertical searches below the fold, so to speak, where they might have organically come up higher, and they promote their own services on top of those other products. And you know, if Google, the thing that some politicians in the EU are calling for, this notion of splitting up Google, by which they really mean split Google search off from everything else that they do, those other businesses would be very small. You know, Google search and the advertising related to Google search is about 95% of Google's revenues. It is what they use to pay the bill for Gmail and Google Apps and everything else they do. And it is interesting. So we'll see what happens there. I think the point of this isn't really to split Google up. I think it's to show them that they're serious and they have to curb their behavior and do the right thing for, you know, competition and so forth. And I think it will head in that direction, I'm sure.
A lot of this animosity comes from the big publishers who have really in Europe who hate Google because they feel like they're stealing revenue from them by excerpting their content, and yet they don't want to not be in the search results, so they're really torn over the whole darn thing. Well,
also imagine Google search, right, like Yahoo search or Bing or whatever. I think most people think of these things as kind of general purpose search engines. Right. What's the recipe for deep fried turkey or something? And you look that up and you get your search results and you go. But what if you want to do something like more complex? You know, I have a trip where I want to fly to through Zurich to get to Milan, and it can only happen on these days or on these days maybe. And you know, there's some complexity to it. Most people wouldn't go to Google and type in flight to Milan kind of thing. And so these vertical search services have kind of arisen to satisfy these needs. And of course, because Google is almost literally the gateway to the internet for many people, Google notices this and they start disadvantaging those things. And they start improving their own search services so that they can perform vertical searches. And so Google has flight search and
they
does all
actually
this kind of
buy the biggest flight scheduling company, IAT.
Sure, because they're gigantic.
They buy the
anything
back
they
end.
want.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, you know, you can make an argument on the one hand, Google search is better and that helps people, you know. But on the other hand, there are these companies, and some of them are companies in Europe, which is where a lot of this stuff comes from. Some of these companies are also Microsoft, by the way, which is where it comes from. But and they're complaining because they're being disadvantaged by Google artificially, you know. And publishing companies is an example. The vertical searches are an example. We're going to see this happen with mobile devices and with mobile device services with Android. Will be one of the next antitrust battles that they fight. You know, it's going to happen. You're not going to be dominant and not face these kind of challenges. Well, it's up to Google to respond accordingly. I guess we'll see.
And I agree.
We'll see how they handle it.
There's
they
a
couldn't
little
handle it any
conflict
worse
of
than
interest
Microsoft.
when Google, and there's debate over whether Google even does this, but if they favor YouTube, I don't think Google should be in the content business as a content person. I don't think if I were an airline, I wouldn't be happy about Google being in the air scheduling business.
Right. Well, by the way, just from my perspective, I write articles that appear on the web. You know?
Right.
Google has insane and hidden and secret SEO rules that change all the time. And every once in a while, you'll, you know, because I work through a company and there are people monitoring this kind of stuff, I would never notice. Someone will say, hey, our Google search redirections or whatever are off the charts bad. What's going on? And you investigate it, you try to find out. And finally, you get someone, who, you know, or somehow so you figure out, oh, they made a change in the SEO. And we're not doing this thing that they like, and we're being disadvantaged now. And you had no idea this was coming. It's almost illogical, you know. Mike, the company I work for now still has policies in place with regards to how we publish certain things that are the result of an SEO change that happened probably 8 years ago or something. And we just talked about this recently. Do we still have to do this? I mean, it doesn't actually make sense. Nobody knows, you know. Nobody wants to change it. What if it still is bad to do this? You know, it's a weird system to live under because if you're not in Google, you don't exist.
Yeah, I mean, they're very, very powerful, which is very, very scary, ultimately. Let's see. Well,
so I hope they get broken up. I hate them so much.
Well, then that's patently silly too. So, Microsoft sues the IRS. Here's a company not afraid of anything.
I hope that this story doesn't have legs because this is the type of story I kind of can't have a hard time even understanding. But basically, as you know, tech companies, not just tech companies, but I write about tech companies, often keep their revenues in other countries around the world because the tax rates are better. So they have an effective tax rate in Ireland that is less than half of what we pay here in the United States. So Ireland comes up a lot in these tax discussions because Apple and Microsoft and other companies will hoard a lot of their profits there because it's you know, taxed less. IRS is looking into Microsoft because they're apparently over a certain 4 or 5 year span, Microsoft's effective tax rate was less than half that of the statutory corporate tax rate in the United States. So a little curious how they were able to wrangle that deal. And the reason that Microsoft is suing them is because the IRS, in an unprecedented move, has actually hired an outside contractor to figure out what Microsoft is doing. Microsoft says that under the Freedom of Information Act, they have the right to understand what this company is doing. They're earning $2 million to investigate Microsoft, I guess, on behalf of the IRS. No one has ever done this before, and so it's kind of an unusual thing. They want to know what's up. And the IRS has basically said that they will not be able to comply with that request in the time allotted, and so Microsoft has sued them. The IRS has had some problems over the past year. I think we would, if you follow the news, you probably have heard. We all feel bad about that because we love the IRS.
That's amazing. Yeah, we love them.
Yeah, we wish them the best.
Yeah. And China, as long as we're in the court, let's see. China is accusing Microsoft of what? Oh, tax evasion.
Another weird one. So, you know, over the summer that Microsoft's offices in China were raided and there were all these things going on. This has nothing to do with that.
Oh, okay.
China has separately charged that Microsoft has evaded taxes in that country. They have charged them $140 million in fees and in interest, I guess. This is somewhat humorous because they didn't actually identify Microsoft. I don't know if you saw this, but it was a company a tech giant whose name starts with M.
No.
They opened a China office in whatever year it was that only Microsoft started an office in China. Like they literally identified them that way. It's Microsoft. I mean, so let's just speak.
Why be coy? What?
Yeah, really coy about it.
That's so funny.
And Microsoft issued a statement where they said, in 2012, we agreed to an agreement about how things would be taxed, and we're paying our taxes that way. And, that's it. We haven't done anything wrong. I don't even know. I think they were as confused by this as everyone else was. So,
Wow.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a break. I want to do the back of the book. I want to see your beer pick.
Yep.
And maybe some specials for Black Friday. But before we do that, I do also want to talk about audiobooks. Paul and I, and thank God Mary Jo's not here, but Paul and I, we love us some Audible.com. We're big fans. We listen all the time. And we haven't done an Audible ad on the show in a while, so I thought it'd be a good time to get your Audible picks.
Yeah,
I
have
you been
many
listening to?
Well, I think we talked about Audible sometime in October, and I mentioned that at that time there was a crazy deal on horror books, and so I picked up some Stephen King stuff and some other stuff. Now, since then, I've gotten a number of things, and there is a new version of Fahrenheit 451, the classic by Red Bradbury. It's read by Tim Robbins. It's excellent.
Nice.
It's only 5 hours long, and I love these kind of shorter books. And so I am literally not literally this moment, but literally now that's the book I'm listening to currently. But I'm also listening to a couple of others, which I put aside just to get through the Ray Bradbury story. Stephen King's newest book, Revival, is out.
Yeah.
A little bit longer, 13 hours, 24 minutes, kind of a Frankenstein story, which is interesting. That's also very good. But as part of the horror stuff that I picked up, speaking of Frankenstein, picked up Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. And the reason that one is interesting is because it's read by Dan Stevens. Dan Stevens being the blonde British guy who was in Downton Abbey until the previous season.
Yeah.
Now, if you've ever listened to this guy's voice, you know that this guy is the perfect British narrator. He's awesome. And I don't have this yet. This will be the next one I get. Dan Stevens also narrates the first James Bond book, Casino Royale, which I am absolutely getting. That's also 5 hours long. That'll be the next one I listen to. I can't wait to start that. But he also narrates very long, 10 to 13 hour long versions of the Iliad and the Odyssey.
Oh, nice.
His voice is awesome.
Here, here's a little bit from
Yeah.
Frankenstein.
The most comprehensive sense of the term, became nearly my sole occupation. I read with ardor those works, so full of
when you
genius
get
and discrimination,
a great
which
actor, it's not
modern
merely the
inquirers
voice.
have written on.
This is an actor. And so he brings the words to life. It's not somebody reading to you. It's somebody bringing the words to life, which is fabulous, I think.
Yeah, and so when you think about those particular, like the first James Bond book, right? Casino Royale, perfect. Perfect voice for this. Iliad and the Odyssey, same thing,
So you're just gonna. It's kind of interesting. I don't know if people understand this. Just as you would be a fan of an author and read all their books, once you start listening to audiobooks on Audible, you become a fan sometimes of the reader.
Yes.
And you start listening to all their readings. Here's James Bond.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
As he gave 1,000 francs
there
to the
are-
vestiaire and walked down the steps of the casino, Bond made up his mind that Le Chiffre would in no circumstances try to rob the case.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I am going to listen to this. That's wonderful.
There are certain combinations that are perfect. The guy that does Daniel Suarez's book is
he's
awesome.
like Jeff Gerner's.
The guy that does Mark Rozinovich's books is really good. But there's a couple of guys that do Stephen King
I want to hear
books.
Bill Nighy doing Moonraker. So apparently they've got celebrity performances of all the
for
Bond.
each one.
Yeah, here's Bill Nighy, who you will recognize probably his voice. You certainly would recognize his face.
And shot a pencil of light aimed at him and photographed it as he stood and fired from the circle of chalk on the floor. The lift doors sighed open and Bond got in.
Oh, I can't wait. This is fun. Thank you for pointing this out. So each one is
so
read
excited
by a
to
different
find this.
British actor.
I only came across this because I grabbed Frankenstein for a couple of dollars. It was on sale.
Yeah.
And then you listen to the beginning of it and you're like, wait a minute, this is that guy. I wonder if he does other books, and you kind of go from there.
Here's Damian Lewis, who was, remember, he was the guy in Homeland for the first 3 seasons. People don't, but he played an American Marine, but he's British.
Got the upper hand against the scorpion's memory of the other noises.
Wait a minute, that's somebody
and
else.
impelled it out of its lair into the filtering moonlight. And now.
It's so funny because, you see these British actors on these American shows, and you never realize that that's what they sound like.
Like the lead in The Walking Dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Completely British.
Oh, this is wonderful. Look at all of these. Well, here's the deal. We're going to get you an Audible book for free. Go to audible.com/windows. You'll be signing up for the Gold account. That's the book-a-month subscription plan you also get with any of their subscription plans. The daily New York Times or Wall Street Journal Digest read to you. Now, the way this works, you have 30 days, pay nothing, cancel any time in the first 30 days, and you get to keep the book. I don't think you're going to you're going to quit, but audible.com/windows. And I look forward to the 22nd of every month, which is a couple of days ago, because that's when I get my credits. And I think what I do, I've already got 2 books in in my shopping cart that I really want to get.
Yeah.
One of them's free, thank goodness. So that means I have one more credit I can get. I'm a big fan. Audible.com/windows, 150,000 titles. The best stuff ever. You're going to love it. Audible.com/windows. And I love it when I see that subtotal 0 because I have a subscription. Audible.com/windows. Try it today.
By the way, Goldfinger, read by Hugh Bonneville, right? Also from Downton Abbey.
Yeah.
And what was the other one I saw?
The Lord. Yeah, I'm looking at all of these. Yeah.
Kenneth Branagh reading The Man with the Golden Gun.
Oh.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, that's going to be the next couple of months for me right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Continuing on, as we must, we shall soldier on. Actually, I saw this morning, and I thought, wow, this is great news.
Yeah, the only downside of this is, Microsoft's communication of this deal, which I'm about to describe, was not very good. And in looking at my website feedback and people on Twitter, I believe it's U.S. only. I know that kind of thing causes a problem with people who don't live in the United States. I get that. I'm sorry. It's very hard when you live here if it's not spelled out for us to know that it's not going to work somewhere else.
Books and music both, the deals are always negotiated on a per-country basis.
Yeah.
So that's just how it happens, Sorry.
Right. So I feel like there's a lot of misunderstanding.
Blame the music labels.
Right. Well, Microsoft could have said U.S. only deal. I mean, just,
well,
spell
they should
it
have
out.
mentioned
They didn't do that. I don't know why they didn't do that. But anyway, if you do live in the United States, Microsoft about a month ago released an app called Music Deals for Windows Phone and for Windows 8 Plus, right? So 8.1, either phone or tablet PC. It really is just a way to know what deals there are that week on Xbox Music. And so they always have an album that's 99 cents, and then they have some promos for whatever little collections they have and stuff. And, if you want to establish a music collection, this isn't a bad way to do it. But this week, and it's a very limited time offer, this ends in just a couple of days, they're offering 100 free albums. And these are not, like bluegrass albums from some band you've never heard of. They're, major league, really good albums. And again, like even if you're not even positive you want any of this stuff, it would behoove you if you can to buy them for free. They're all free. And actually, it looks like a lot of the free albums are at least a couple of weeks, and so they'll be around for a little while. Kind of a holiday thing. And so it's, I'm just scrolling through it really quick, like Eric Clapton, Green Day, Selena Gomez, Stone Temple Pilots, Lana Del Rey. It's all kinds of music types and genres and everything. That's
amazing.
It's free. Awesome.
That's great.
And so I spent some time doing this. I tried it on an account.
It's free forever. Like you own it now.
It's free.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
So, and this is the thing. I don't think people understand this. You, as an individual with a Microsoft account, can access Xbox Music, right? And what that means is you can, in your now, of course, the free streaming stuff is going away, so it's not going to be as great as it's been for the past couple of years. But you could today browse around this store or search for artists that you like and add those artists to your collection, right? It's a cloud collection. And what that means is you have albums, you have songs, whatever it is. You can create playlists that are full of songs, right? And they're in the cloud. And you can stream them today. That's ending actually literally within days. But for the past 2 years, you could do that for free, stream them. If you have an Xbox Music Pass, you can stream them without ads for, forever.
So you're saying I don't need to buy an Xbox Music Pass to get these 100?
Right. And that's the thing that people don't understand.
I didn't understand that. That's awesome.
I did this on an account that doesn't have an Xbox Music Pass. And so you run the app, you find the album you want, click buy, Xbox Music launches, it's free, buy it. The way that Xbox Music is set up by default on Windows 8.1 or whatever is it will download that music to your hard drive. It's MP3, it's 320K, there's no rights management on it or anything like that. It's free and clear. You can, if you use iTunes, you can push it into iTunes and use it there for the rest of your life if you want. It's free. Wow. It works. I've done it with an account with no Music Pass. I've done it with an account that has Music Pass.
So
it will always be there in your
Xbox Music app.
Yeah, it's built into Windows.
In Windows.
So in other words, there's a music. The Music Deals app is the one that lists all the free stuff.
Right.
I mean, if you knew an album was free, you could just search for it on Xbox Music. It comes up as free. Right. You can do that too. But they interact, so it's easier to browse them in the Music Deals app. Click on the one you want. Xbox Music launches. Click here to get it for free. It adds it to your collection. So 2 years from now, you could sign in Windows 12 or whatever. Xbox Music app. It's still there. You can stream it. You own it. It's yours, and you can download it if you want.
This would be really good. I'm looking at the music. This would be the beginning of a great collection.
Yes,
these are not junky
100
albums.
Diverse music. Yeah, a lot of it excellent.
Sublime, Quadrophenia by The Who, Bob Marley, Catch a Fire, Let It Bleed by the Rolling Stones, The Joshua Tree by U2. I mean, these are great. Yeah, and then you have the $2 box sets.
Well, so the other part is the box sets, and this, in some ways, is a little more interesting because these box sets are usually $15 to $100, depending on what it is. They're $2 each, and it's like the complete Led Zeppelin, right? The Rolling Stones single collection, the London Years, John Lennon box set, Nirvana box set.
That was expensive.
There were several REM box sets. Every song REM's ever made, basically, over the course of 3 box sets. The complete studio albums of The Doors, Elton John's greatest hits, 1970 to 2000. It goes on and on and on. It's amazing. Like this is a great deal. Every studio album by the Eagles, $2. The complete singles of Frank Sinatra, $2.
Wow.
The point here is, even if you don't use Xbox Music, you have no intention to ever use Xbox Music. If you have a Windows computer, Windows Phone, I guess as well. Actually, I haven't tried it on Windows Phone.
They say Windows Phone.
Yeah, well, the apps both work on Windows Phone. Just get it. Download it. I mean, if you use Amazon or if you use iTunes or you use Google Music, whatever, get it from Xbox Music and push it into the thing that you use. Why wouldn't you use this?
Right. Wow.
Yeah, great deal. Now, the box sets are only for 5 more days. So the free ones are going to be around for a couple of weeks. The box sets, it looks like there's 5 days left. So if you're going to buy some of these things, they're $2 a piece. Do it quick.
Okay.
But definitely look at it. It's amazing.
Yeah. No kidding. What a good deal.
Yeah, really good.
Wow. And I did think, I'll have to reactivate my Music Pass, but no.
Nope.
Hardware pick of the week. A lot of people talking about this HP Stream. I'm seeing a lot of ads for it, too.
Yeah, and this kind of ties into the Black Friday stuff, although these deals are available now. And I just talked to HP about their stuff. When Microsoft announced early in the year this notion, we made fun of it. You remember the $0 licensing or whatever. The concern at the time was, well, obviously we're going to see a lot of cheap crap, And by the way, we are. I mean, that's going to happen. But I think the thing we didn't anticipate was, what if some company decides they're going to make something that isn't crap? What if we look, they look at this and say, well, we have the ability to make something that's nice in this price category. Like, why don't, what happens? And these HP Stream devices are like that. There are 4 or 5 of them. There's an HP Stream 7 and 8. I've only tried the 7. There's an HP Stream 11, 13, and 14. The 11 and 13 share the same design language. They have a similar kind of look to them. I have actually I got a second one. My wife's using one as well. We have 2 HP Stream 11s, and I've got a 13 coming. They're low-end machines. You know, they're Atoms. They have 2 gigs of storage. It's probably, I think it's 32 gigs of eMMC storage on the device, you know, for actual storage. But they're beautiful looking. They work great for what they are. You know, they're not touch and all that kind of stuff.
Chromebooks, right? Basically running Windows.
Yeah, but they're really nice looking. The thing that, and the HP, you know, the Stream 11 is particularly interesting to me because I review laptops all year long. In fact, from where I'm sitting, I have, 5 or 6 of them sitting here that I'll be reviewing soon. And, you know, 11-inch machines to me are not great. I'm a big guy. I can't type on these things. The keyboard in this thing is fantastic. It's really nice to type on, and notably nice to type on. These are good machines. And so an HP
for $200 for the 11-inch, $299 for the 14-inch.
$250 for the 13-inch version.
Yeah.
$99 for the Stream 7.
What are we giving up, though? The screens can't be very good at that price.
Actually, no, the screens are great for what they are. I mean, in other words, they're not 1080p, but actually the screens are beautiful.
Great for education, for schools. You also get Office 365 Personal.
Well, so before the HP Streams came out, Toshiba shipped an Encore Mini tablet, 7-inch tablet. I think it was $129. Completely garbage. The screen is garbage. It's impossible to look at. It's got that kind of weird little glittery,
hate them.
You know, it's awful.
Yeah.
HP 7 comes out. It's, by the way, it's not an iPad, right? Let's not fool anybody. It's not, you know, the thickness of a piece of paper or anything. It's thick. It's, you know, it's well, I have it here. I'm going to show it to you. It's, you know, it's a little, you know, it's a little thick.
Yeah.
And all that, and a little dense, you know, a little heavy or whatever. But it's also like I could throw it at my kid and actually kill them with it. But I could, you know, kids could throw it around and you're not going to worry about it. No, A, because it's $99, but B, because it's actually really durable and solid, you know?
Yeah.
Same thing with the HP Stream 11. All of these machines come with Office 365 Personal, which is worth $69, right? So it's a year of Office 365. You get the Office programs downloaded to the device. I don't know, 7-inch tablet's a little ridiculous, but terabyte, soon to be unlimited amount of OneDrive storage, right?
So you would get that because you got the Office Personal 360. Yeah. So you'd get so it's really unlimited storage. Wow.
Yep. It's fascinating, and I think part of the value proposition here is from a productivity standpoint, or in a tablet, you're just going to be looking. You know, you're looking at the Facebook app, you're looking at the news app, you're doing your email. You know, those apps were designed to run efficiently in small amounts of memory and storage space. From a productivity perspective, obviously the desktop apps aren't, you know, you're not going to run like iTunes, Chrome, and, you know, Photoshop at the same time on one of these things. But that's not what it's for. It's not for that kind of thing. And I mean, my wife uses, it's not her primary computer, but she was previously using a Surface, for example, because she has a standing desk and she sometimes, you know, wants to stand up and work on the stuff she's working on. She uses Word and Scrivener and applications like that. And Stream 11 works perfectly well for that kind of thing. It's really interesting because I was really worried about the quality of these kinds of machines. And we're starting to see some really nice ones. And, you know, the HP Streams are the best ones I've personally seen so far in this price range. There is, I point this out in the show notes, there's a Winbook tablet, that 7-inch tablet, that typically sells for, I think, $99, that actually right now, and it might be gone as we speak, but right now is available for $60. I don't have one. I've not seen one, but I've heard from multiple people that the Winbook tablets are very high quality. And they also have a couple of higher end versions. So you can go from 7 to 8 inches, and I think they have a 10-inch version as well. And I didn't put too much of this in the notes, but the other thing I guess we should mention is that when you think about high-quality, low-end devices, Lumia 635 is probably the sweet spot right now, in the United States anyway. If you live in a place where you can get a 535? The one they just announced, 535? I mean, you might want to look at that one as well. But a Lumia 635 is a wonderful machine, and the logical replacement for that Lumia 520 that was last year's big Windows device. $39 on Black Friday at the Microsoft Store. That is a no-brainer. This is that MP3 player, expandable with microSD storage. It's an offline GPS where you can download the maps to your device and use it in your car or whatever. It is a wonderful phone, and I use that as it's like my media player basically. That's a great phone. $39. That's a great phone at $99.
Yeah, no kidding.
You know,
it's a happy holiday.
Yeah. It's this is nice because again, I was so worried about just the cheapness of this part of the market. You know how awful that could be, and honestly, what I'm seeing is some high quality devices.
Yeah.
That was unexpected. That's nice.
Yeah. Well, we would be remiss if we didn't end this show with a little bit of beer.
Yeah. So it's the most wonderful time of the year, as I mentioned in the show.
Beer and bagels time. Yes, sir.
This is when the barley wine beers appear.
Oh.
And I researched this. I'm not surprised to discover that there are two versions of essentially of barley wine beers. There's American and English. And
Is barley wine a beer?
No, it's not. It's not so much a beer type. It's more of like the way that you make the beer. It's often in barrels that are, impart some kind of flavor. They're often high in alcohol. The American versions tend to be hoppier, so I don't like those.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky enough, for whatever reason, where I live here in Boston, we have at least two that I'm aware of, breweries that make these kinds of beers. They're high in alcohol. They're kind of dark-colored molasses kind of flavors, sweet flavors. We have two great versions here. Blue Hills Brewery, which is my local brewery. That's the wrong way. The sign over me. Those are the Blue Hills posters back there that I'll eventually get on the wall.
I see. Somebody mentioned that your posters have changed. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to get that up there soon. Those guys make one called Fortis Pagus, which is my favorite. But there's also Pretty Things, which are the other side of Boston. Those guys have something called called Our Finest Regards, which is also fantastic. The thing that is most interesting about barley wine beers to me is not so much the flavor, the high alcohol content, and all that kind of stuff.
12%.
Yeah, they're high in alcohol. They're winter beers.
Yeah.
This is you could eat this with a fork.
So that's why they call it a wine. It's strong.
Yeah. Well, it's a barley wine style. Yeah. It's because it has the alcohol content of wine.
Yeah.
But but these, unlike most beers, you can actually age these things, and presumably they get better over time. I find they tend to get a little more syrupy over time. They almost get like a port.
Interesting.
But I've got one left from last year, Fortis Pagus, and that will be like a holiday thing, maybe a Christmas or something. I'll finally.
Normally, you don't store beer or age beer, but this you do.
No, yeah, these you can.
Huh.
Yeah,
how long?
Obviously they change a bit over time.
I think that must be the high
better.
alcohol. I must be the high alcohol.
Yeah, I think that helps. Yeah.
So how long though? Not a year, right?
A couple of years at best, I think. Like I said, I've got one that's a year old. The beer guy that I go to was telling me about this. He said that the Pretty Things they put out this year are all from last year.
Oh, and they age them. Interesting.
They actually at the store. This guy's really good. But the interesting thing is, I went and looked at. I rated this on Untapped, and I love this beer. And I thought, but I had it before, and my rating last year was not very high at all.
Oh, interesting.
And I think it was because it was aged. It got better.
Yeah.
It kind of went from a porter type of thing to more of a almost more of like a port. It's got a really interesting kind of taste to it.
Interesting. I'll have to try some. Maybe put some
Pretty
down.
Things is the best. If you ever find any of those beers, I mean, they're East Coast, but those guys are great too.
Awesome. Paul Thurrott, have a really nice Thanksgiving holiday.
Thank you. You too. Please try to have turkey, Leo.
Do they have? Maybe I'll have a turkey dog at the ballpark. I don't know where I'm going to get turkey. It'll be on the way down to Santa Clara to the football game. Maybe we'll stop on the way.
I'll be in a beer and turkey coma by about 4 o'clock.
Beer and bagels. What a way to start a Thanksgiving at 8 a.m. you said?
8 a.m. Yeah.
You're crazy.
I know. I hate getting up that early, but still, it's a holiday.
There's beer and bagels. Do you put schmears on the bagels, or you just eat dry?
Oh, yeah.
I do love a good bagel.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, this has turned into an actual tradition.
It sounds great, frankly.
Yeah.
Paul Thurrott is at the super site for Windows, winsupersite.com. Normally, Mary Jo Foley's here. She'll be back. She's flying home from Europe, but she'll be back next week. She's at allaboutmicrosoft.com, and between the two of them, I don't think there's any better commentators on Windows. I mean, we got you covered here. We do Windows Weekly every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1900 UTC on twit.tv. Do stop by if you can watch it live, but if not, on-demand audio and video is always available after the fact at twit.tv/WW or youtube.com/Windows Weekly or wherever you subscribe to your favorite podcasts. Have a great Thanksgiving, everybody. To my friends in the U.S., the rest of you, we're taking the day off tomorrow.
Have some turkey wherever you are.
Have some turkey wherever you are. And we'll see you next week on Windows Weekly. Bye-bye.